Saints fans and Who-Dats, it's time to join Rev and Bryan in the Who-Dat Confessional, y'all. So release all your frustrations, all your pains, and all your ills, and listen up to Rev and Bryan in the Who-Dat Confessional.
Okay.
I'm still trying to get over this whole baby cakes thing, man.
Oh man, that is just crazy.
Man, it's them out of towners, man.
I understand the need to want to make it more local, but I just can't figure out of all the names that was the best one you could come up with. I can't. But in fairness, very few people like the name Pelicans before they were the Pelicans, and turns out they're just fine.
Yeah, I agree. Not that I'm a huge fan of the name Pelicans. At least the Pelicans make sense. Baby cakes don't make a lick of sense.
That's what I said. I was like, Pelicans make sense. The state bird, it kind of flows with it. You can get away with it because it's still an animal. But the whole baby, like, what grown man wants to put on something that says baby cakes? I'm sorry.
It's going to be a whole bunch of Jalen Ramseys on that team. That's all it can be.
That's a perfect way to describe it.
Oh, my goodness, yeah. Oh, what we're going to do, man? And insult to injury is the fans who suggested the dang name anyway.
Right.
And you knew some out-of-towners who got no respect for New Orleans, the name, tradition, the culture. We're just going to jump on that because they love this. All they're getting is their name talked about and fitteds bought. Because even I got to admit, the logos are fire. They're bomb. I love the logos, but the name is straight boo-boo. But, man, I'm going to buy some of the fitteds. I just am. I might have to wait till Uncle Drew or whoever gets some knockoffs so I don't send money to the owners. But I got to get some.
I totally agree with that, man. I have a very big problem with the name in and of itself. But like you said, the logos, I'm like, man, kind of hard to deny that the stuff looks good. It's kind of hard to deny, but it does.
Yeah, I mean, whoever they had on their Photoshop team did it straight. But you can only do so much. I mean, it's like, and I know Nick Underhill mentioned this when I was talking to him on tweets. I mean, the Pelicans mascot, when it first came out, was straight garbage. I mean, it was boo-boo. Everybody hated it. And because of the backlash, they fixed it. And that's what I was telling him. That's what we want to happen here. I mean, because Nick doesn't get it. Nick's not even from Louisiana, let alone from New Orleans.
Louisiana, right.
So, and it's like I told somebody on Twitter, he's the kind of guy that eats Zaps from the top of the bag, not from the bottom of the bag. So he don't understand anyway, regardless.
Right.
So I tried to put it in words he'd understand that it was kind of like the Adidas Kobe 2s. I mean, that's how bad this was to us, and he just doesn't get it. And I'm like, it makes people laugh at us, and we've already had for years, not just New Orleans, all Louisiana, people dogging us about Katrina and Rita and, our Bobby Jindal and all this other crap. We're tired of getting ragged on and mocked. I mean, and how are you not going to get mocked by everybody with the name Baby Cakes?
Right. Yeah, I understood his point, which was nobody really gives a damn about the Zephyrs or, MILB baseball. So I get his point when it comes to that, but it's not about even supporting the team in that aspect. It's about the name being attached to New Orleans. It's embarrassing.
Yeah, man. And I said, I understand him not getting it. And he's right. Nobody knows anything about minor league baseball in New Orleans. I mean, I knew the Zephyrs were there. I ain't ever been to a Zephyr game in my life, but it's the fact that now people will hear about it because this is the kind of junk that goes viral,
It is.
This is stuff that's going to get passed around. People going to be laughing about this in Oregon and Washington, New York, everywhere. I mean, and it's going to be partly our fault because us getting so mad about it on Twitter is going to cause everybody to see it, and then they're going to laugh at us. But that was the whole marketing ploy, and then I admit I'm part of it, but it's my hope that enough people complain. I know NOLA, the Times-Picayune, just put up a poll. They've had like 250 people respond, and only 9 people said they like the name.
That it's going to pretty much be like that because nobody likes the name at all. I mean, I personally think it's just ridiculous, but hey, whatever floats their boat. I really don't care because I've only been to one Zephyrs game the entire time I've been in New Orleans, and that was the game when Chris Bryant actually right before he got called up to go to the Cubs.
Mm-hmm.
I went to that game, and the only reason why I went was because he was, Chris Bryant was there. It had nothing to do with the Zephyrs, themselves.
Yeah.
So there was no promotion that they could do. I mean, the dollar beer, the 2-for-1 night. There was nothing they could do to get me to a game. It took Chris Bryant.
Now, I don't know if you read, they're doing the whole every baby born in Louisiana in 2017 is like a lifetime free ticket member. I mean, what good is that going to do you when they probably get out? I mean, this will probably help them with short cash, like the next few months selling the gear and the name. But in terms of long term, nobody's going to go to the baby cakes in 3-5 years.
I agree. I mean, the problem is that nobody's going, no matter what. New Orleans it's not a baseball town per se, and if they are, it's not for minor league baseball. They'll go to they'll sell out a Tulane game. They'll even go to UNO to support them in small bunches, but nobody's gonna go to the Zephyrs. Nobody. So it's all baby cakes or whatever.
Real small numbers, man. Because the only people I know who are baseball fans in Louisiana are like me. They're fans of teams that ain't nowhere close. Like I'm a Cubs fan, have been my whole life.
I'm a Cubs fan as well.
And I know I have friends who are like Yankees fans, a few that are Astros fans, and people that are Braves fans because that's what was on TV.
Yeah,
Nobody
you got
cares
WGN and you got Turner.
Yeah,
exactly.
You either Braves or Cubs or maybe a Texas team. That was usually it.
Yeah, I mean, nobody wants to pay attention to minor league baseball. So if this was their plan, like, I think they tried to follow the marketing strategy of the Pelicans, but they don't understand that the Pelicans have something they would never have. Well, number one, the Pelicans have Anthony Davis right now.
Yeah.
Prior to that, it was Chris Paul. But even with that, the Tom Benson's strategy to remarket the Pelicans and make it, a more of a New Orleans team, it failed. And, nobody's paying attention to that. The Pelicans still can't sell out games.
Yeah, they were selling, $2 tickets opening night?
Yeah, I mean, the Pelicans still cannot sell out games. So it's like, okay, so you tried to do the marketing strategy of the Pelicans and you tried to say, well, if we make it a more New Orleans thing, locals were supported. Not necessarily because locals don't support the Pelicans. And, as crazy as it is, like you said, sometimes the games are $2 and $8 if you can't spend $10 to go see a Pelicans game, then something's wrong because you're probably going to spend more than that going to McDonald's for lunch. Nobody wants to go to the games.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, and I want to go to a Pelicans game this year just because I want to support the hometown. I mean, I don't like anything in New Orleans to be seen as a failure. And I'm okay with them losing just because I've been a Saints fan my whole life. What I got to worry about the Pelicans losing for. I mean,
yeah.
But that's why I reached that point with the whole baby cake scene, though, because that's an embarrassment to our town and our state. It's not like the Pelicans. It's like you're saying, you can get that. I mean, it makes sense why you would name a team that, even though it don't really flow. Like, nobody's scared of the Pelicans, and the name just don't really do anything. I mean, honestly, I wanted us to get the Jazz name back that should never have gone to Utah because ain't nothing about Utah say nothing Jazz ever at all.
I
don't
agree.
see Mormon jazz bands playing. But anyway, I just can't support this whole baby cakes thing. I'm going to buy me some, ghetto from the projects fitteds, and that's it. I'm going to get the knockoffs at half price but look just as good. And that's all I can do.
That's about all we can do, man. Like with the Pelicans, for me, it bothers me because in basketball, it seems that one player can make a difference, but Anthony Davis just doesn't have any help, and it just seems like it's not his fault. It's all on leadership, and I've been saying this till I'm blue in the face at this point. There's been a constant. People like to say Monty shouldn't have been fired, and to a degree, I can understand that point. But there's been one constant in this whole situation. Monty, the problems that he faced are the same problems that Alvin Gentry is facing, and there's been one common denominator: Dell Demps. He can't build a roster. and it's evident he can't build a roster at this point. And now I'm seeing and hearing rumors that Alvin Gentry could possibly be fired soon, and I'm just like, well, what about the guy that actually got him the players? You know, if you want a chef to cook a great meal, you can't bring him crap.
Yeah, I mean, I like Alvin Gentry, but I told people before he got hired, Alvin Gentry has never run a successful NBA head coach program. He just hasn't. He's an offensive mind, you know, and I point this out because basically the same squad Gentry had his first year, Monty Williams had. And Monty Williams ran a much better defense to those exact same players. Most of those players low talent, but a much better defense. And then Gentry comes in, there's no defense at all. It's all we're just going to try to run and gun and fly down the court and score. And I mean, it's one of those, if I had both of those, like if I could have Monty as the assistant and run the defense and Gentry on offense and try to make their styles mesh, even though they're the exact opposite, stuff like that, but it just ain't working.
You know, I think that's the biggest problem, and I think Gentry tried to bring a defensive guy in, but it's not happening for him. And I understand he's going to lose his job. It's going to happen. Somebody has to be the fall guy. But if Gentry loses his job, and it's not like I'm going to shed one single tear for him. My favorite guy for the job was Tom Thibodeau at the time. Yeah. But if Gentry's going to lose his job, Dell should be on the way out with him because, I mean, you can't give this guy a pass. You know, he gave Monty a horrible roster. He's given Gentry a horrible roster. And it's just not the fact that he's given him a horrible roster. It's how he's went about it. I can't see a move that he's made other than drafting AD that's actually been a solid, just not even a solid, but a spectacular move. And AD was a no-brainer. You had to draft AD. Well, then you drafted Austin Rivers. Okay, so you couldn't get anybody else. Maybe you could have traded that pick. I don't know. But you drafted Austin Rivers. That flopped. You know, you've traded away draft picks for Drew Holiday, Omer Ashik. That flopped. And, you've also tried to sign key free agents. That's flopped. So there's not a single area of Dell Demps' job that he's done that I can look at and be like, well, you know what? He made a great move there. It's not there. There's only one move that you can say that was a great move, and it was such a no-brainer that he would have been a jackass not to do it. That was drafting AD. So,
yeah, man, it's one of those. Getting Drew and Zeke back should probably make us back to a 500 level team, maybe push for the 8th seed, because it doesn't seem like, we've always been stuck in the hardest division, it seems. But, I still think they can make a push because AD is having a phenomenal year with nobody around him. Give him somebody to shoot the ball besides him, and he's just going to be lights out all game long. But it's real tough for a big man to do that when you have no guards. No offense to Buddy. He's only played 10 NBA games. He's starting to kind of get it. He's not there yet. He's definitely going to need a season to mature. And these other guys we got, like Moore, these are guys who are maybe 8 and 9s on any other team, but we've got them at 6s and 7s.
That's exactly the problem. You have role players and bench guys and starting roles that they're not used to and they can't play. And that's my point about Dell Demps building a roster the way he did. The key has always been to get another superstar player to play alongside AD. You can't, some guys you can't turn into superstars. And I think Dell Demps wanted to, at first I believe he wanted to build in the Golden State mode because he drafted, he signed Gentry, wanted him to coach, and he wanted to kind of build a Golden State type team. Well, you can't do that because Golden State is Golden State. Then I think he wanted to revamp it and kind of build more in the San Antonio Spurs mode. Well, there's a reason why San Antonio is the exception to the rule. They are who they are. They've got the best coach in NBA history, in my opinion. And, not only do they have the best coach, but they also have, Greg Popovich is almost like Bill Belichick. He's a great mind. He can spot talent, and he puts that talent into his system. Not only will he do it, but if that talent doesn't fit, he finds a role for that, that specific player. Patty Mills shouldn't be on anybody's roster. And Patty Mills flat out balls for Greg Popovich. He can't do that for anyone else. So it's the problem that I'm seeing with Dell Demps. It's like he doesn't have a clear vision. And even if he does, he has guys that they don't fit. If Solomon Hill, Etuan Moore, and those guys were coming off the bench, big difference. But having them in starting roles, no, sir. And I understand that, some of the rosters hurt. Like you said, Drew Holiday missed some time, and Tyreek Evans has missed time. But
Tyreek should be back next week. I mean,
Right,
that's quick enough to make a difference.
Tyreek isn't a good fit for